Namaskar, hello and welcome viewers. You're watching this special presentation of Sansad TV, Bills and Acts, where we analyze bills that impact you, acts that empower you, and programs that matter to you. I'm your host, Kriti Mishra, and today the spotlight is on the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Before the detailed analysis, let's take a look at the highlights. The Amendment Act of 2019 amended the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012. The Act seeks to protect children from sexual offences such as sexual assault, sexual harassment and pornography. It provides more stringent punishment, including death penalty for sexual crimes against children. Sexual abuse of children is a stark reality which is prevalent in several countries. A recent review of 55 studies from across 24 countries found that rates of child sexual assault range from 8 to 31% for females and from 3 to 17% for males. In India, prior to 2012, there had always been a dearth of proper legislation to deal with these issues. The Goa Children's Act of 2003 was the sole piece of child abuse legislation back in those days. The Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act of 2012 was a special law enacted by the Government of India in 2012, which came into force from 14th of November 2012. This act was amended in 2019, where particularly the death penalty was introduced for aggravated penetrative sexual assault. Prior to the amendment, the punishment for aggravated sexual assault was rigorous imprisonment for 10 years, extending up to life imprisonment and fine. And to analyze the impact of this act, I'm joined by an illustrious panel of guests. Joining us through virtual platform, Dr. Fauzia Khan, MP Rajya Sabha. She represents the NCP. And in the studio, we have with us Dr. Sasmit Patra, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha. He represents the BJD. Also joining us, Mr. Priyank Kanoongo, Chairperson, NCPCR. Also in the studio, we have with us Dr. Aloka Sharma, Professor, Law Faculty, Delhi University. And also joining us in the studio, young and vibrant audience. I welcome all of you on Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. And let's begin the program with lady panelist on our show today, Dr. Fauzia Khan. Coming to you, the Karnataka High Court has ruled that minor Muslim girls' marriage is invalid and POCSO Act overrides the personal law. Your opening thoughts on the importance of this particular act?
I think this act, because it concerns the most vulnerable section of society, and it's a good comprehensive act. At the same time, we must always remember that in judicial process, a legislation is always considered dynamic.
Yeah.
Because through the practical application of a law in life, several issues keep emerging and many new provisions may be needed that may be incorporated. So as you have rightly pointed out, that this increasing the age for marriage, this is in the consideration of the government.
That's right.
And here I would say that we consider the age of the child as 16 years. And the age for marriage that we are proposing to extend is 21 years. So now the assumption is that the biological age of an adult is 21 years. So my question would be that now we will have to deal with the age between 16 and 21 years. What exactly do we call them? Do we call them juveniles or they are adults? So this confusion will have to be cleared. Now, I feel that across any community, when a government decides to do it, because the government considers that the biological age of an adult must be considered as 21 years, it's fine with us. It's no issue. But then there are several other issues that are connected, which I may speak about a little later as we progress.
Right, absolutely. And as you said, that lawmaking is a dynamic process according to the needs of the society and the needs of the day. But Dr. Patra, you're an eminent lawyer as well. We know that Department of Justice is setting up more than 1,023 fast-track courts, around 400 exclusive POCSO courts as well. But the conviction rate is a problem, which is very low.
You see, before coming to the conviction rate, I would speak about the pending matters that are still there in the POCSO courts. The idea behind having these specific POCSO courts was to ensure that there is speedy trial, there is speedy investigation, and there is speedier conviction. One aspect that you have raised is the lower rate of conviction, which is, of course, a point of concern. And secondly is the speed with which these cases, this investigation and the trials would have continued has not seen really with the spirit behind the law. That's a major concern. Secondly is it also points out to two aspects. One is the criminal law itself of our country, whether you talk about the Criminal Procedure Code and the processes with that, and the criminal law reforms that are required to make it more child-friendly,
that's right,
POCSO-friendly. And secondly, the issue is in terms of investigation. Are our investigation systems and processes and policing methods more agile to the needs of the POCSO Act? Or do they follow the same processes as they do for any other case? Thirdly, there are specific provisions. We will not have time to go into every provision of the bill, of the act. But one specific provision that was there is that there is a need to also have a redressal mechanism. There's also a need to have a proper monitoring. Now, in terms of proper monitoring, I believe there has been a lack of proper reporting and monitoring as well.
Right.
How many cases have really progressed? Where are they? How many years have they been there? What is the total duration of a specific case? Where is it really stuck? Because children are more softer, as we all know.
That's true.
And they need special care. So when they know that there is a case about them going on, about a crime that has been perpetuated on them, they're more inquisitive to know when are they going to get justice.
Okay.
And at that very agile age, at that very innocent age, if we provide quicker justice, effective justice, not justice that happens after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years,
okay,
but when there is prima facie evidence and the evidence points to the culprit, I believe the investigating agencies, the process and the criminal law of the land must also ensure its swiftness.
एब्सोल्युटली, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स मेड देयर. प्रांक जी, आपसे समझना चाहूंगी, आप लगातार देख रहे हैं किस तरह से इम्पैक्ट है पॉक्सो एक्ट का. स्ट्रिंजेंट पनिशमेंट की भी बात की गई कि डेटरेंस सर्व करेगा, वो ग्राउंड पर कितना ट्रांसलेट हुआ है? और जैसा कि सस्मित पात्रा जी ने कहा कि इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एक बात है, मॉनिटरिंग उससे बड़ा चैलेंज है. तो किस तरह से आप देखते हैं इसका इम्पैक्ट?
देखिए, पॉक्सो के बेटर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को लेकर के जो मॉनिटरिंग का हमारा मैंडेट है, उसके अंदर हमने हाल ही में देश भर के हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट के स्पेशल जुवेनाइल पुलिस यूनिट के हेड, डालसा के एडवोकेट्स, पॉक्सो स्पेशल कोर्ट के जजेस, ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस और नेशनल फॉरेंसिक साइंस यूनिवर्सिटी, नेशनल पुलिस एकेडमी, NCRB, सबको साथ बिठाया
जी,
और BPRND, और सबके साथ बैठ के हमने 5-6 महीने तक लगातार ये जानने की कोशिश की कि कन्विक्शन रेट 40% क्यों रुका हुआ है.
बिल्कुल.
और इसमें ये भी यहाँ मैं एक बात आपको बताना चाहूँगा कि दिल्ली पुलिस का जब हम कन्विक्शन रेट देखते हैं, स्पेशली असॉल्ट्स के केसेस में, तो वो पूरे देश के एवरेज से लास्ट रिपोर्ट में NCRB की 2 गुना था. हमने जब कारण जाने तो पता चला कि एक फॉरेंसिक इन्वेस्टिगेशन जब पुलिस करती है तो एक बड़ा इम्पैक्ट उसका कन्विक्शन पे पड़ता है. इसलिए नेशनल फॉरेंसिक साइंस यूनिवर्सिटी की सहायता से हमने ये सब किया. एक जो महत्वपूर्ण बात समझ में आई वो ये कि रिहेबिलिटेशन का जो प्रोसेस होता है, विक्टिम के रिहेबिलिटेशन का, वो कन्विक्शन को अफेक्ट करता है. यदि हम विक्टिम को प्रॉपरली रिहेबिलिटेट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, कंपनसेट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, उसका इंडिविजुअल केयर प्लान नहीं बना पा रहे हैं, पॉक्सो अकेला नहीं है, पॉक्सो के साथ जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट मिला हुआ है. हाल ही में हम लोगों ने एक पोर्टल तैयार किया है जो पॉक्सो के सेक्सुअल असॉल्ट्स के सभी विक्टिम्स का रिहेबिलिटेशन, कंपनसेशन, ट्रांसलेटर्स, इंटरप्रिटेटर्स, सपोर्ट पर्सन्स, ये सब ट्रैक करेगा. इसमें हम चार्जशीट भी टाइमली फाइल हो ये भी ट्रैक करेंगे, बच्चों का रिहेबिलिटेशन भी ट्रैक करेंगे. तो हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं लगातार कि किसी प्रकार हम कन्विक्शन रेट बढ़ाने की तरफ बढ़ सके. इसमें डॉक्टर्स, पुलिस, इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑफिसर्स, सभी लोग इन्वॉल्व हैं. हम किसी एक पर जिम्मेदारी नहीं डाल सकते. तो हम सभी को एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे साथ लेके एक बेहतर ट्रैकिंग और मॉनिटरिंग मैकेनिज्म एस्टेब्लिश कर रहे हैं.
बिल्कुल, मैं आपकी बात से सहमत हूं कि हम किसी एक पर जिम्मेदारी, किसी एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पर जिम्मेदारी नहीं डाल सकते. लेकिन आलोका जी, जैसा कि प्रियांक जी ने बताया कि जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट है, पॉक्सो एक्ट है, लॉज हैं, इम्प्लीमेंटेशन है, लेकिन जिम्मेदारी हम सबकी है. एक बड़ा मुद्दा है अवेयरनेस, सेंसिटाइजेशन और माइंडसेट चेंज करने का. तो उसके लिए आगे क्या रास्ता देखती हैं आप?
कोई भी कानून हमारे यहाँ बनता है, उसका सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि लोगों जो उसके विक्टिम्स हैं उन्हें पता ही नहीं होता कि हमारे यहाँ वो कानून है. अब यहाँ तो बच्चे हैं विक्टिम्स, लेकिन फैमिलीज़ को ही नहीं पता कि कोई कानून ऐसे हैं जिसमें कि बच्चों के खिलाफ ऐसा कोई अपराध किया जाए तो उसको हमें देखना है या हम रिपोर्ट कर सकते हैं. दूसरी चीज़, अगर कानून के बारे में अवेयरनेस है भी, उसके अलावा लोग कितना जाना चाहते हैं कानून के रास्ते, ये भी बड़ी बात है, क्योंकि हमारी सोसाइटी आज भी वही है जहाँ पर स्टिग्मा विक्टिम पर है, चाहे वो रेप विक्टिम की हम बात करें, चाहे हम किसी भी चाइल्ड अब्यूज़ की बात करें, बच्चा ही उसमें उसको लोग देखेंगे ऐसी नज़र से कि इसी ने ऐसा कुछ किया होगा। तो जो स्टिग्मा हमारी सोसाइटी में है, तो जो पेरेंट्स हैं दे नेवर वांट टू रिपोर्ट सच केसेस because they apprehend about the future of the child. Nowadays in the schools they have initiated some kind of awareness regarding good touch or bad touch, so that some children should aware that what kind of touch. But still you see many things are required at the schooling level, and at the level of the parents and other family members. They also teach the children that this kind of offences can happen. Of course we cannot use the term offences, but in other way we have to tell the child, educate the child regarding this. And where the awareness is not, like we talk about the rural areas, वहाँ पर हमें ऐसे प्रोग्राम्स कराने की ज़रूरत है कि जहाँ पर माँ बाप जाने कि सच में कोई कानून है। ऐसा नहीं है कि हम देखते हैं कि गांव में अगर कोई ऑफेंस हुआ है तो कई बार लोग उसको भी मैटर रिपोर्ट करते हैं। अब मीडिया हमारा इतना प्रोमिनेंट है, लेकिन फिर भी मुझे लगता है कि ऐसी जगहों पर जहाँ पर इतनी एजुकेशन नहीं है, जहाँ पर इतना मीडिया नहीं है, वहाँ पर इसको हमें नाटक भी कर सकते हैं हम, और तरह तरह के सेंसिटाइज प्रोग्राम भी कर सकते हैं। तो DLSA वगैरह जैसे हमारे यहाँ है, नालसा की मदद से स्टेट अथॉरिटीज़ को हम कह सकते हैं कि कुछ इस तरह के अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम छोटे छोटे लेवल पर गाँवों में करें।
Right, so two important points that you raised, stigma and of course about creating awareness about the laws. Dr. Fauzia Khan, whether it's a woman, girl, child, male child, female child, stigma is always attached to the victim.
Yeah.
And we see no solution.
The solution lies in the awareness that we are talking about. We need to make sure that the mindset of society also changes. Because sometimes we see that in families, supposing the child is being abused by a very close relative, if it's the mother's relative, the mother would want to protect the relative more than the child.
That's true.
Or if it's a father's relative, the father would want to protect the abuser more than the child.
Very valid.
This kind of mindset can be tackled only through awareness. So a lot more has to be done. And I think a lot of TV programs, a lot of videos on social media, we are reaching everywhere today. So I would also like to add here that one of the most important category that we need to now focus today is child pornography.
That's right.
Because child pornography has become a big challenge for the world today. And the world is trying to tackle it. They are very seriously trying to address it. POCSO, we deal with physical abuse. But when the abuse is, through morphing of the child's video, or it's some video has been taken during his using of the toilet or something like that, and that becomes viral, then here we need to, I think about something where we have to have a multi-departmental approach, a multi-country approach, because VPN is a big challenge for us.
Right.
And in order to trace the criminal, I think cyber POCSO also is now the need of the hour. Because as I see in the even 2019 Act, the punishment which we have proposed for pornography is, in my opinion, not very adequate. Because this destroys the life of a child. And here we have to see it in a more serious way. And we also have to bring many countries. We can take a lead. India can take a lead in bringing many countries together on one platform to make sure that child abusers through cyber mode are tracked and punished.
Absolutely. Dr. Patra, I do recall that Rajya Sabha had constituted a special committee for suggesting measures against child pornography. What were the major highlights?
You see, there was a specific ad hoc committee that was established under the chairmanship of Shri Jairam Rameshji, and that went specifically into ways to curb child pornography. And there were three specific interventions that they had secured. One was to strengthen the legal system itself. For example, in our country, apart from the IT Act, we really do not have any enabling provisions that can actually ensure that if there is an intermediary, many times we only look at websites. But as you can see now, the social media intermediaries and uploading content on those social media intermediaries is much more easier and quicker. Because if someone wants to really commercialize it today and monetize it, you can do that. Now, the question is, if there is being a monetization or there is a commercialization or there is a dissemination on the social media platforms, interestingly and very unfortunately, the personal data protection bill was supposed to come.
Yes.
And now it has been withdrawn because there were more than 100 amendments. So the question is, now you've got the recently had the intermediary rules that have come in on social media. The question is fixing responsibility. That was one clear area. Second was to strengthen the monitoring and surveillance mechanism. If you do a Google about any specific pornography, you'll be plentifully aware of how many pornography sites are there. It doesn't take rocket science to be able to reach that. It just takes a Google search. The question is that today, because of virtual education, because of the education that children are going on the hybrid education, many times tuitions have now changed into online education. So children have access, very impressionable mind children, 6th standard, 7th standard, 5th standard students have access to smartphones. Have access to computers, have access to tablets. So therefore, they are very easily susceptible because of peer pressure, because of certain awarenesses that they generate as they grow up into their teenage years, to immediately rush into those areas. And therefore, there has to be monitoring and mechanism. And third was to have effective firewalls and safeguards, which are technologically irrelevant. One is to build awareness. The second is to also ensure that technology protects them.
Absolutely. And going ahead, I'm sure the government is working on the new bill, as you said, and let's expect that bill in the budget session of Parliament. Priyank जी से पहले मैं स्टूडेंट्स के सवाल लूँ. आपसे समझना चाहूँगी, जैसे डॉक्टर फौजिया खान ने कहा कि कई बार जो परपेट्रेटर्स होते हैं वो घर से ही होते हैं, चाहे फिर वो मदर के साइड से हो, फादर के साइड से हो. ऐसे में आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस रहा है कि रिपोर्टिंग होती है, नहीं होती है, कितना दबा छुपा के होती है, कितना जो परपेट्रेटर है उसको बचाने के लिए कितने एफर्ट्स होते हैं? मैं आपसे समझना चाहूँगी कि ग्राउंड पर क्या होता है एग्जैक्टली.
देखिए, दोनों तरीके की बातें हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि सारे ही ऑफेंडर्स घर के भीतर हों. घर के भीतर अब्यूज़र्स हैं, लेकिन हर घर के भीतर भी अब्यूज़र नहीं है. तो पहले तो अपना दिमाग हमको ये साफ कर लेना चाहिए कि हम हर चीज़ को वेस्टर्न माइंडसेट से नहीं देख सकते. दुनिया में बहुत से मुल्क ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे 8 साल की 9 साल की उम्र में बच्चे को अगर अलग बेडरूम नहीं दिया है तो ये माना जाता है कि वो अपने प्रोस्पेक्टिव ऑफेंडर के साथ, प्रोस्पेक्टिव अब्यूज़र के साथ बेड शेयर कर रहा है. तो हमको उस चश्मे से भारत को नहीं देखना है, पहली बात. दूसरी बात ये कि भारत की पारिवारिक परंपराएं, उनके अंदर जो सेफगार्ड्स बच्चों को हैं, सरकार, पुलिस, कमीशन, कोई भी किसी के घर के अंदर जाके उसकी रक्षा नहीं. हमको परिवारों को स्ट्रेंथन करना ही पड़ेगा. पॉक्सो एक्ट में जो बहुत ही बेहतरीन प्रोविज़न है वो ये है कि हर ऑफेंस CWC को रिपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा. जब पुलिस के पास कोई जानकारी आती है तो पुलिस को चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी को बात बताना पड़ती है. देश में इस वक्त 700 से ज़्यादा चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटीज़ काम कर रही हैं और ऐसे सारे मामले जो उन तक आते हैं और जिसमें परिवार के लोग ऑफेंडर्स होते हैं, उन बच्चों को वहाँ से रिहेबिलिटेट करना, उनको चिल्ड्रन होम में रखना या जहाँ उन्हें बेटर प्रोटेक्शन मिल सकता है वहाँ रखना, ये सब तय करने का काम चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटीज़ करती हैं. यहाँ पे जैसा मैंने पहले कहा कि कन्विक्शन को तय करने के लिए बच्चे का रिहेबिलिटेशन इंश्योर करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. तो उसमें ये एक मेजर पार्ट है जहाँ पे इसकी आवश्यकता पड़ती है.
जी बिल्कुल. आप कुछ सवाल लेते हैं. प्लीज गो अहेड, इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ एंड स्पीक योर माइंड.
We all know that conversion rate is very low. Some states it is 25%, some it is more than that, but it's nearly to 20, 30, 40% maximum to that. So the Home Ministry has brought the rule regarding the CRPC and IPC that criminal profiling should be done. DNA sampling, blood sampling, biometric things has to be taken. The criminal profiling needs to be taken to increase the conviction rate in that manner. So can't the same model be applied to the POCSO to increase the conviction rate?
Let's look at criminal law from 3 aspects. One is the CRPC, one is the IPC, and one is the Evidence Act. Usually, and most of you are again law students as I understand, Evidence Act, what has happened is the provisions are so stringent at times that if specific durations or within a specific way and the process, the evidence is not collected and the evidence is not processed, then it is not admissible in the court of law. So the problem therefore is in the law itself. That's what my opening remarks are. So what Priyank ji has said, I agree with him in terms of not putting only the onus on institutions. The question is, wherever law processes are more facilitative, wherever law processes are more engaging, where we do not tie down the laws in a way that it is only serving the purpose of the courts and not serving the purpose of the law itself for justice, I think we are actually missing the mark there. So I believe the government of India is now reforming it. As you know, that there is the entire criminal law process. For that, there is already a committee that has been established. Eminent parliamentarians who are from the law faculty like Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani are a member there. And therefore, all the members of parliament have been also asked about our views on the reforms. I'm sure the reforms are going to come in the criminal law, and that will be more facilitative to the process of POCSO.
Let's take another question on that note.
सर जैसे बता रहे हैं कि टीम बनाएंगे पूरा उसमें डॉक्टर्स पुलिस सब रहेंगे, लेकिन पुलिस के पास ही अगर कोई जाता है सेफ नहीं रहता तो
हम पॉक्सो को अकेले साइलो में नहीं देख सकते। पॉक्सो को जब देखना है तो जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट के साथ देखना है। चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी एक 5 लोगों की कमेटी होती है जो वहाँ के डिस्ट्रिक्ट के एमिनेंट सोशल वर्कर्स होते हैं, और पॉक्सो का हर केस इसलिए चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी के पास पहुँचता है, उसकी जानकारी उसको पहुँचती है। तो इस तरीके के इंस्टीट्यूशंस में अगर बच्चे के साथ अब्यूज़ होता है तो पॉक्सो एक्ट उन लोगों के लिए, उन परपेट्रेटर्स के लिए सज़ा के प्रावधान भी ज़्यादा अलग करता है, और चाइल्ड वेलफेयर कमेटी इन चीज़ों को इंश्योर करने के लिए डिस्ट्रिक्ट में एक इंस्टीट्यूशन।
I want to know that if we take approach of only conviction approach, then how can we save people from false cases?
इसमें पहला तो हमारे यहाँ है कन्विक्शन रेट इतना ज़्यादा लो है बिकॉज the investigating officers or the investigating machinery is not aware how to investigate these kind of offenses, first of all. So first of all, their training is required as to how to investigate the cases, because if they investigate the cases properly, so they could know that what kind of false cases are there. And here you see, yes, we cannot say that there are no chances of the false cases, but the number is very less. And there is a provision for filing the false cases against the accused in the act itself. The punishment provision is also there. Of course, the child is excused from all these kind of provisions. But whenever you say any law is there, always there are some chances for misuse, be it any women law. So we have to, I think, train the investigating agencies and further the prosecuting agencies in this regard.
Right, absolutely. Priyank ji, इस शो के बियॉन्ड एक पत्रकार की तरह आपसे समझना चाहूँगी कि जो पॉक्सो के केसेस होते हैं उसको रिपोर्ट कैसे करना चाहिए, एक पत्रकार के तौर पर किस तरह के सेंसिटिविटीज़ हमें रखनी चाहिए, किस तरह की चीज़ें हमें ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए?
देखिए, हमको सबसे पहला काम जो है वो बच्चे की आइडेंटिटी रिवील ना हो। वो आइडेंटिटी इज़ नॉट लिमिटेड टू नेम, आइडेंटिटी इज़ नॉट लिमिटेड टू स्कूल और विलेज और पेरेंट्स नेम। आइडेंटिटी मतलब ना उसका स्कूल, ना उसके पेरेंट्स का नाम, और कई बार तो हमें एक्यूज्ड का नाम भी छुपाना पड़ता है। जैसे अभी पंजाब और हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट का एक डिसीजन था जिसमें एक मुस्लिम लड़की की चाइल्ड मैरिज को केवल इसलिए जायज़ करार दे दिया क्योंकि वो मुस्लिम है और 15 साल की है
जी।
अब जब इस केस के खिलाफ हमने अपील की
जी, और
ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने हमारी अपील को एडमिट किया, नोटिस इशू किए, जब मीडिया ने हमसे इस बारे में सवाल पूछा तो चूंकि परपेट्रेटर उसका सो कॉल्ड पति है तो वो अब्यूज़र ही, लेकिन हमने उसका भी नाम छुपाया। तो ये इस तरीके की सावधानी हमको रखनी
जी। तो इस तरह के चेक्स और बैलेंसेस पत्रकारों को रखने चाहिए।
और सेक्शन 23 में इसमें मीडिया हाउसेस के पत्रकारों के अगेंस्ट भी पीनल प्रोविजंस हैं, इसलिए वो कानून है तो कानून का पालन सबको करना है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हैं आप। यस,
रिगार्डिंग द रिपोर्टिंग डिटेल्ड प्रोविजंस है, एवरीबडी हैज टू फॉलो दोस प्रोविजंस।
शायद प्रियांक जी आप एक वर्कशॉप भी करा सकते हैं पत्रकारों के लिए।
करवाते हैं सर, इस बार आपको बुलाएंगे।
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। आई एम कंप्लीटली आउट ऑफ टाइम। डॉक्टर फौजिया खान, आई विल गिव यू द फ्लोर फॉर योर क्लोजिंग रिमार्क्स।
See, thank you for giving me the closing remarks. I have one thing in mind which, it relates to both Juvenile Justice Act and POCSO, where you see increasing aggression in child perpetrators. So, according to NCRB statistics only, children between 16 to 18 years who are child perpetrators are 66%. And below, from 12 to 16 years, it's 30%. 7 to 12 years of age, it is 7%. And there is an increase of 143% of rapes by juveniles, 87% murders, and 500% kidnappings of women and girls by minors. So I think we need to think about this, and we need to think on the lines of the US, Canada, UK, where child perpetrators are tried as adults. You know, we have to see the gravity of and the heinousness of the crime, the gruesomeness of the crime, and punishment should befit the gravity of the crime. Because if there is an increase in aggression, especially in schools, it's seen that during online classes, because of exposure to videos on crimes and pornographic material, so much aggression that in online classes, children in their chats have started, dangerous levels of expression with girls and with transgenders. So schools are silent about this problem because they don't want their school to, have some kind of a bad name.
Right.
So I think instructions, first of all, must be given to schools that such children must be identified, must be given psychiatric support, because these juveniles may later on be identified as potential criminals.
Very true.
So this thing has to be addressed, I feel. And we must also now start thinking about making the trial for these children as we try adults, because we must be sympathetic with the child, even the child abuser and the child victim both. But here the victim is more important, and the abuser must also face punishment. That is my personal opinion, and I thought I would like to share it on this platform.
Absolutely, ma'am. Very, very imperative suggestions, but I'm completely out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Patra, Priyank ji, Aloka ji, and Dr. Fauzia Khan. Well, viewers, that's all I could pack for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Namaskar.